Serving their community is who they are because they love where they live. REMAX 3D Real Estate is proud to bring you Heart of Greenville, a video series dedicated to celebrating all the wonderfully great things about Greenville, Texas. On every episode, Dennisha Denny will share Greenville's story through the stories of people who call Greenville home. This is Heart of Greenville.
Hey y'all, I'm Dennisha Denny, your host of Heart of Greenville, and today we're sitting down on the third floor at the landmark on Lee Street at the Landing. And my guest today is Miss Naomi Swanson with Fit City Nutrition. How are you today, Naomi?
I am doing fabulous.
Thank you so much for agreeing to sit down with me today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor.
Oh, you're so welcome. I want to hear your story. I love coming into Fit City. I love getting your teas and your shakes, and like the energy whenever you walk in that door is so exciting. Like I know when I walk in the door, no matter what kind of day I've had, like I'm going to be greeted with a smile and this joy and cheerfulness when I walk in the door. But I don't know like how that started for you and how you got involved. And so I'd like for you to share that with us today.
Okay. So before I got involved with Fit City, I was actually a Child Protective Services caseworker.
Really?
I was. I did that for 7 years. I started in Lubbock and then came back home to Greenville.
There's a magnet here. It just pulls us back.
It's true. It really is. So I came back home. I was working with Child Protective Services. I was also teaching Zumba in the evenings. And I had this mentality that I could just eat whatever I wanted because I was working out 4 nights a week. And I found out very quickly that that does not work. I actually approached Heather Dawson, who worked in the same gym that I was teaching out of, and went to her looking for a personal training regimen. Again, that mentality of like, I've got to work out more. Like that's all there is to it. And she basically told me, you cannot out-exercise your fork. So I got started on a program with her, which is very similar to what we teach at Fit City. And I lost 30 pounds.
Oh, wow.
And that's when the business outside of Fit City really came into my lap. And that's what a lot of people don't know, that there's so much more outside of Fit City that goes hand in hand with Fit City. So I started on that program, lost 30 pounds, had a healthy pregnancy, have a healthy baby boy, and I'm currently down 57 pounds.
Oh my gosh, congratulations.
Thank you.
That's huge.
And so with all that, I guess I'd been doing the business for about 2 years.
Really? It feels like it's been longer.
Well, it has.
Okay.
But I wasn't doing it really. Like I was just kind of dabbling in it. When people would ask for products, I would get it, give it to them. But I started very much with, and I told Heather, like, I'm not going to sell this. Like, I'll sign up because I want the discount.
Right.
But I'm not going to sell it. Like, don't ask me. But that was a lie because as the results came for me, that's when the people that I knew and worked with started asking the questions. And that's how I kind of built my clientele. And Heather saw that without me even realizing it. And so when she was looking for a partner with Fit City, it was offered to me. And I said yes, with no idea what that meant or what it was going to turn into.
So you kind of skipped the whole part of being a consultant. You kind of went straight into business owner.
Kind of yes, kind of no. When I started losing weight, so like when I was teaching Zumba, for example, that mentality, we would literally have Zumba and then we would go to Applebee's afterwards. Like that was
like you would go reward yourself, right?
Exactly. I mean, and that was my whole mentality. And it's so crazy because like food is not a reward. We're not dogs.
I know.
And so, when those results started happening and people were like, can I do what you're doing? I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll get it for you. But I had no idea that I was helping.
Right, the power of that.
Yes, absolutely.
That is really cool. Okay, I want to go back real quick about CPS.
Okay.
You working for them. What inspired you to do that? That's a whole different category and a whole different world.
Yeah. So the raw, awful truth is I was sexually abused as a child.
Oh my goodness. I'm so sorry.
I'm fortunate to not have been one of the more extreme cases of sexual abuse. But as I grew up, I knew that I wanted to help kids. Like that was it. And when I did the whole like go to college, find your career, and that's what I did. I went into social work.
Can I ask how old you were?
It was my 13th birthday.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So can I ask how you processed that? How you handled that?
My parents were very protective. And so, you hear a lot of cases where, that you make the outcry and we just don't talk about that. Mm-hmm. But my parents were absolutely not that way. It was a relative who has been cut off. And it's so crazy because when I made my outcry, so many other girls came forward because of him, like that were also abused by him.
Oh, by that same person.
Yeah, and so he did some long time in prison. He's still alive. As far as I know, he's living in Louisiana somewhere. I saw him once as an adult at my great-grandmother's funeral.
Oh, wow.
But it was very awkward. We didn't speak. But processing, when I told my parents, they were very protective. They took care of it. They called the police. We went through the whole thing. And
what gave you the strength to tell them? Because I think that's one of the things that people struggle with the most is actually telling someone.
Absolutely. Because I didn't tell anybody for a month.
Oh, wow.
And so it was actually a friend of mine who lived down the road from me. I was hanging out with her one day, and I was like, I need to tell you something. Because, it had just been like, how do you like, hold on to this?
Right.
And she told me, like, you need to tell your parents. And so she went with me to tell my mom and dad.
Wow. What a great friend.
Oh, yeah.
To give you the right advice
Yes.
that you needed to tell an
Yes.
adult.
And really and truly, she's also a Greenville resident as well.
Oh, I love that.
Yes.
Oh, my goodness. So you went to your parents and told them, and then they went to the authorities. And then how did you feel whenever he went to jail?
Validated. Like, because I think that everyone who's sexually abused kind of goes through this, what did I do? Mm-hmm. Like, why did this happen to me?
Different?
Like, I did something. And that's a big reason why I didn't say anything for a long time. So I was like, what did I do to make this happen?
Right.
And so, yeah, when he finally had to go and do his time, I was like, okay, I didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
Even though, like, my friend and my parents were telling me, like, you did nothing wrong. This is not your fault. It didn't feel like it really wasn't until he suffered the consequences.
And then that's when you knew you could kind of release yourself and know.
Yes.
I mean, you were 13 years old.
Yes.
Bless your heart. So then, is that what encouraged you then later to go into the criminal justice?
And just child protective services? Yes.
So you wanted to be able to help other kids. Can you identify that now? Like, now that you've gone through that trauma, like when you were working for CPS, could you see it in children? Is that something that you can identify?
Yes and no. There are, like, I guess what we call like red flags that kind of make the assumption there. But until a child actually comes forward and says, yes, this happened to me, it's really hard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because often, most of the time sexual abuse, the abuser is someone the child knows. And so the child feels some kind of level of, I have to protect this person because I know them, because I trust them. And that's a big part of it. The abuser usually knows them and they build trust. And so the child is oftentimes protective and not wanting to say anything.
Oh.
I totally felt that way.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm sure you could totally relate to that. And I'm sure you were such a great mentor for some of those children, to be able to talk about what you felt and what you went through. And I would obviously never know that from you today. I mean, you don't carry that on your shoulders and, into life. So what made you get out of working for CPS?
So on that note, and I, disclaimer, totally think that CPS does great work, but I don't think it's any secret that the system's very broken. Mm-hmm. And there were a lot of times, a lot of cases where I just kind of felt like my hands were tied behind my back, because what a lot of people don't realize is it's not just the department's decision. Mm-hmm. There's so many other decision makers in that. We've got CASA, we've got the judges, we've got the parents, we've got the department, there's just counselors and whoever's working with the kids, whoever's working with the parents. And there's so many different recommendations that may not always line up. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like CPS got a lot of slack a lot of the time because it's like, y'all didn't protect these people? Well, no, we tried.
Right.
But this person made this decision and we couldn't go against that.
Right.
And so it was kind of a leading up to situation, but there was one case where I had kind of already started with Heather, very part-time. I was a very small portion owner. So I would work 6 to 8 in the morning because I felt like that was the time that was needed. And Heather, Justin had a full-time job. So Heather was doing the club by herself, and she had to get the kids to school. So she didn't open till 8. And when I was working for Child Protective Services, like I felt like that was a need. Like a lot of people have to be at work by 8.
Right.
And so she was opening when people were already having to be at work. And so because I had to be at work at 8, I saw that opportunity to open up 6 to 8, and then I would go work 8 to whatever. Yes. And so we were actually on the way to a training. And there was a case that I was working, and I can't go into a whole lot of detail about it, but essentially what happened is it was 2 special needs children who were eligible for adoption. We had been searching. They were considered like a hard adoption because they had so many special needs. We finally found a placement for them that was like all in due to different regulations with the department. On the way to training, I get a call from my supervisor, and she's like, we have to go pick them up. The department is not approving the placement. And I'm like, hold on a second. You want us to have these kids sleep in the office until we can find something that the department's going to approve rather than this home that wants them?
Right.
This isn't what I signed up for.
Right.
And so the training that we were at, we went up there. I'm bawling on the way because I'm just like, this is not like
these are kids. You have eyeballs. You've seen these kids. You know these kids.
And it was like after so long of searching for a home that like wanted them, like, so we go to training. Training's amazing, and it's very specific to not the business that we do, but the nutrition club, club model. And so there was just so much information that whole weekend. And I remember the second night there, I just looked at Heather and I was like, if I were to come on all in, what would that look like? How much more would the buy-in? Because it's an investment. To start your own business, it's an investment. And so she looked at me and she was like, you have already done more than half the work. You don't have to pay anymore. You're in whenever you want it.
Oh,
and it was such a blessing because I was like, I can't imagine like paying more if I'm going to leave a job, And so that following Monday, I went back and I told my supervisor, I love you, because she was great. Like everyone that I worked with was great. It was the big
situation.
And so, and I gave my notice and I went all in with Heather, and I haven't looked back.
That's awesome. Do you know what happened to the kids?
I don't. I do keep in contact with the placement that was interested. The last I heard, they had found a placement, but I don't know what the outcome was.
That would be so hard for me, I've considered getting involved with CASA, and one of my concerns has been like, oh my goodness, I would feel like I would be all in, and and you would be wanting to fight so hard, for these children. But then they need that voice, they need someone, in their corner fighting for them. And so,
yes,
man, thank you for your service for that,
thank you.
And for all those years of that, because that's one of those careers that it goes home with you.
Oh yeah,
you can't just go home and not think about.
Well, and what a lot of people also don't know about Child Protective Services is like, thankfully I didn't have my baby at the time, but like, it's almost like there's this push and pull of like, I've got to take care of these kids, but I've got to come home and take care of my own kids. And like, where's the balance? Because you're worried about these kids, but you also need to make sure that your kids are taken care of. And so it's just this push and pull of like, where do I find the balance?
Right. So you had your kiddos.
I did.
When you were at CPS.
I had Tavin,
okay.
And he was between the ages of 6 and 8.
Okay.
Whenever we were, I earned Tavin in marriage. I inherited him.
Oh, that's so
But he is actually mine. I've legally adopted him.
Oh,
yes.
That's awesome.
And then I also have an older one, Tanner, who was 13, 14.
Okay.
When I was working for CPS.
Oh,
and he's
wow.
grown and out of the house now. He's figuring it out. He knows it all.
They do it first for a little bit. But then you have a little one
Yes,
too.
Josiah, who just turned 3.
Oh, wow. Man, so what did your husband think about you giving up your career and going into this, nutrition business and having your own club? What did he think about that?
That's a fun one. Because, I went from having a steady income to are we going to get paid this week?
Right.
Right. And so, but he's always been supportive. Like, he would never say, I don't want you to do this. It's well, if that's what you want to do. And you're just kind of like, oh, God, I really got to prove that I'm doing the right choice here. But it's been well worth it. And, he tells me all the time that he's proud. And, the lifestyle that we have now is so different than what we had before, because it was crazy. Like, I remember one Christmas that we were like, okay, we've got to figure out if we're going to make Christmas and rent.
Oh, wow.
And so, a lot of times you'll hear people say, and you may get it too because you're very successful, well, it must be nice. It is nice.
Yeah.
I worked for this, And so, but it's crazy.
You work for it, but it's exactly what you said, though. You still have struggles.
Yes. And so, and even like, going with Heather, like we remember like when having $100 day at Fit City was like, yeah, we made it.
Yes.
We're going to get paid this week, maybe, to now it's like, dang, like, whoa.
Right.
I had no idea that this is what I was signing up for. And I'm so blessed.
Yes. But you took that leap of faith.
Yes.
At the very beginning.
Yes.
And you had that season of, are we going to make rent or are we going to have Christmas? And
Yes.
you chose the other way.
Yes.
And you chose to benefit yourself and your family versus being like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And that's awesome. I love that you did that. And it inspires other people to do that. And I think that's why people need to hear our stories to know, you had a job that was taking everything from you, even from your soul to
Yes.
help everyone and not being able to do anything about it. But being able to turn around and do something incredible for your life and for your family and to get to live and fulfill your purpose.
Yes.
Of what you do every day.
Yes.
So what's it like being a business leader now?
It still takes everything out of you. It's I think a lot of times people hear like, oh, you own your own business. It's so nice. It is. And I don't discredit that, but you don't work any less. And in fact, I think you work more.
You do.
Because
hours that people never see.
100%, and we always hear like, why do you guys close at 2? Well, number one, we're here at 5:30
Right.
for you. But like we were trying to talk about earlier, like Fit City Nutrition is not the only part of my business. It is a very small portion. Because the rest of the business is helping people do this at home,
Right.
showing people how to be healthy at home, walking them through all of this at home, and being a support system, being a counselor, being a social worker. It all kind of goes hand in hand. And
Because you have consultants that work under you.
That
right?
too, yes.
And so you're leading your team
Yes.
of consultants who are then leading their team. And
yes,
so that runs deep too.
yeah. So you've got to know how to manage people, not just from the business aspect, but from a friendship aspect to a professional relationship aspect to, yes, we're still friends aspect, and just kind of knowing like how and when to have those conversations.
Yeah. So what do you do to keep yourself positive, to keep leading your team?
Personal development every single day on the way to work. I will read a book. I have grown to love the idea of audiobooks.
Yes.
And I never thought that I would, because
too.
there's something about like holding a book.
Or being able to underline or highlight.
Highlight,
make
yes,
notes.
all of that. But when you are busy, you make time where time is due in those nooks and crannies. And so I think first thing in the morning is crucial. My Alexa goes off in the morning playing personal development for me to get ready to. Because I get up at, depending on what day it is, between 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
And it's really hard to be positive at that time of day. But you have to, if our goal, you were talking earlier about like how you love to come in and no matter what kind of day you're having, we can turn it around. And that's great to hear, because that's our mission. Like, I want you feeling better when you walk out the door than you did when you came in.
And you achieve that.
So I've got to be right.
Right.
So the audiobooks, the personal development, I listen to Mark Hughes and Jim Rohn a lot. So Mark Hughes is actually the founder of our company.
Okay.
And then Jim Rohn was one of his
Really?
kind of go-to personal speakers. And it just, I think what you fill yourself with is what you're going to put out. And so it's a non-negotiable.
I love that. What are you reading right now?
Oh my gosh. Outwitting the Devil.
Oh.
I just started it. It was actually a recommendation from one of the trainings we just came from.
How fun.
Yes.
Okay, you'll have to let me know what you think about that.
It's by Napoleon Hill.
Oh, then it has to be great. That's awesome. I'll have to check that one out.
Yes.
I always have an audiobook going too.
Yes.
Like, I think that's so important.
And
that
it's
we
easy.
feed our souls that
You're
way.
reading, but you're not reading. And you can do it in the midst of everything else.
Yes. And that's how you do it. And you're exactly right. You fit that into those nooks and crannies and while you're getting ready.
Because who has time to sit down and read?
I know.
One day.
Exactly. What do you like to do in your spare time?
Gosh. Me and my little boy, Josiah, we love to shop.
Really?
And so my days off are Thursdays. And we will sneak off to wherever we can sneak off to because Daddy's at work.
Oh.
So we like Target. We like Hobby Lobby.
Aww.
He loves to ride. He loves being in the car. He loves being outside. He loves just going. And I think it's because he's gone since he's come out.
Yeah.
I mean,
He's like on the go.
I mean, because even from inside the womb, like I was teaching Zumba. So he's like, let's go. I'm ready to go.
I love that.
But, now that the opportunity has kind of paid off, I love going places. And it doesn't have to be anywhere crazy. Like, let's go rent a cabin and spend the weekend. And that is like perfect to me. Like, let's go hike. Let's go kayak. Let's go just anything outside.
It helps to reset your center, I think, whenever you get out into nature and away from our phones and all the technology, and you can just like reset.
Well, and
your
as you
soul.
know, like you've got to shut off. Like if you don't, like it's going to run you.
Yes.
And so we've got to.
You have to go refill your cup.
Exactly.
And if you don't, you have nothing else to give
Yes.
to everyone else.
Yes.
So I love that you do that.
I love that I do it too.
So we're on Heart of Greenville.
Yes.
So let's take a minute and talk about what you love about Greenville.
Well, I mean, we already talked that I left and came back.
Yes.
All in high school, I'm just like, yeah, I'm going to go away to college and I'm going to go make something of myself. And little did I know, I just had to come back home to make something of myself. I love the community. I love I love our customers. I mean, oh my goodness, like we have the most supportive, loyal people in and out of our nutrition club. I love that it is small town, but with still some things to do.
Yes.
I mean, no, we're not crazy like Dallas, but like we still have things to do. There's still like little adventures that
Yes.
you can take part in.
Yes.
So,
I know every time I come into your club, there's always someone there.
yes.
I don't think I've ever stepped into your club and there not been maybe even a group of people. So I think you do have groupies.
We do. We have our lunch crowd that is a mess, but we
Yes.
love them. And I think they're a mess because we're a mess, and they let us be a mess
And you're all a
together. I
mess
mean, it
together.
is like you don't just get your shake and tea. You get like full on entertainment because we
Right.
are always dropping something or being crazy. It's not like your typical, okay, here's your stuff, thank you.
Right.
And that's
Exactly.
not what that's exactly what we wanted to create.
Right. And you've done that for sure. So where are your favorite places to go in Greenville? What are some other things that you love about Greenville?
Like specific like businesses?
If you want to.
Okay, so like Bottle Cap has the best wings.
They are delicious.
Let's see.
What's your favorite Mexican food restaurant?
Ooh, tamales.
I know.
But I like
interesting.
mariachis too.
Yes.
They're very different.
Oh, extremely.
But
Yeah,
I like
they're not
Molina's too. Which one do I not
I
like?
know. It's like, take your pick.
Yeah.
There's so many.
And then Tony's. Like I remember like as a kid, like it was my birthday. Where do you want to go? Tony's.
Tony's.
Because I
Always
love
Tony's.
Italian. So
Yes.
I think they know what they're doing.
They have that down.
Yes.
Do you have any
Gosh.
favorite activities that go on throughout the year that you enjoy going to and being a part of?
I enjoy Bras for the Cause.
Yes.
We are always a sponsor for that. I just think it's a fun event, but with a good reason.
Yes.
Summertime Splash Kingdom,
Oh, yeah.
just because Josiah needs something to do that's going to wear him out, and that's perfect. I like the Christmas parade, just because it's so cool to see all the different businesses and school organizations, and I was actually in flashes, so it's really cool to see watch them. My father-in-law loves the football games. We don't have anybody playing, but he will buy season tickets every year for
I
all
love
of
that.
us, and so that's kind of a Friday night thing that we do, and so I really like to go and watch the performance. I'm more there for that than the football.
The football, yeah.
But
Oh my goodness, I know. And Miss Butler still does an incredible
She
job
does.
with that. So I need to have her on the show.
you do.
I do. We need to talk about that. Okay, I'm going to ask you your final question.
Okay.
So if you will pick a number between 1 and 20, that's going to be your final question.
Let's go with 13.
13. If you could change one thing about your upbringing, what would it be?
That my mother would have chosen happiness sooner than she did.
Really?
Yes.
Can you elaborate on that?
She was very unhappy in her marriage for a long time, and she thought that staying in that marriage was better for my brother and I. And to see how happy she was once it was said and done was such a blessing. And the man that she is with now dotes on her, loves her. And I've always said, like, if you want to know what true love looks like, look at my mother and her husband.
Oh, wow.
And I wish she had had that sooner.
How old were you guys whenever they divorced?
It was shortly after I was going into 7th grade.
Okay.
So-
was that hard for you though at the time? Did you understand it at the time?
Yeah, I was old enough. She actually had a conversation with me before making the decision because she felt like I was old enough to understand. Alcohol is an ugly thing. And so a lot of times I was aware of things going on because I was awake when people didn't think that I was awake.
Right.
So I knew long before we actually had the conversation.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you for sharing that. But that's huge. Like, I mean, that's like hitting me. Like, wow. Like, just for that to be your thing that you would change about your upbringing for your mom to be
Because
happy.
other than that, we were taken care of, and my mom and dad were both great parents.
Yeah.
It's just when alcohol became a part of my father, that's when the things started changing.
Right.
Does that mean I love him any less? No. Do we have a strong relationship as we did? No.
Is alcohol still a part of his life?
Off and on. So
So that didn't necessarily change it
no.
because of the divorce?
And I think everybody deals with things differently, and you have to choose the healthy options. And unfortunately, he has not quite grasped that yet, and that's okay in his own time, hopefully one day. But outside of that, we were happy.
That's great that you can share that. But that is just profound to me, I guess. You know, like, man, I mean, happiness is it's such an important, it just reminds me how important happiness is.
Yes.
You know,
Life's
and
too short.
It really is. I mean, that always comes back to me like, man, we only get to do this once.
Absolutely.
And it's like when you get to 43 like I am, I'm like, oh, wow.
Well, and I think it just kind of resonates in life now. Like, I didn't realize that I was unhappy until I was happy.
Right.
You know, career-wise, relationship-wise, you know, you name it. And when I finally took control of that happiness, everything changed.
Right.
And I think it's the same for my mom.
Right. So you didn't know you were unhappy
I
before?
didn't. No, I thought I was living the dream. I got my career, and this is what I was doing, and I had a steady income, and I had no idea that this was even available to me.
Right. That's awesome. Man, Thank you so much for sharing that with me today. Naomi, thank you for sitting down with me. I really have enjoyed getting to know your story. You've shared your heart. I mean, like really your heart about your childhood and your family, and just I love seeing the light in you, and just you're such an encouragement to other women and people who want more for their life and want to be happy. And
Thank you.
Thank you for modeling that and for sharing that with us today.
Well, thank you.
You're so welcome. See you at the club.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for watching Heart of Greenville. This video series, which is designed to celebrate Greenville, Texas, is spearheaded by REMAX 3D Real Estate.